BURP stands for the Bovine Emergency Response Program. It is a program designed to help first responders more ideally respond to cattle transport accidents, so a semi-rollover or something similar to that. The BURP program was developed out of need, first responders asking for help to do a better job, and as part of the Transportation Symposium, we always hope that things go right, but we also know that things may not always go right. And so we developed this program and this training plan to help first responders be prepared for something that we hope they'll never have to respond to. The program is about a 6-hour program. It's designed to be mostly a hands-on training program, and it offers a plan that's flexible enough to meet local needs but rigid enough to withstand and keep some really important pieces within that plan. And so we go through the steps of the plan, and we actually have 10 sections, 10 separate sections dedicated to training. So everything from how a call comes into the dispatcher and how they relay that back out to the first responders, to at the end of the day, how do the first responders debrief the program to deal with some of their issues potentially and talk about what went well, what didn't go well, what they could change. And then in between, we have sections dedicated to scene arrival, humane euthanasia, triage, what you do with injured cattle, what you do with mortalities, how to humanely euthanize cattle. And so it's really a very complete from the start of the incident to the end of the incident program. If people are interested in the training, they can contact their local Extension Service Cattlemen's Group or myself or Jerry Yates at West Virginia University or Dave Workman with West Virginia University. It just comes from a basic call, that we'd like to have the training. And then what need to happen on the other end is to have participants. And so typically those participants are the first responder continuum plus veterinarians, maybe the state ag department group or state veterinarian's office. We always appreciate having them there to offer the local rules and regulations that go with, but firefighters, law enforcement, ambulance folks, all of the first responder continuum is typically who our audience is, plus extension professionals. It's designed to be a national program that again has a framework with it that is flexible enough to meet local regulations and needs and animal welfare and carcass disposal, those kind of things that vary a little bit from state to state and community to community, but still has those really important pieces that need to be addressed. When the training is typically conducted, we like to do it within a local community because, as we always say, the scene is not the place to build your team. So we'd like the team members to be there, hear all the pieces and parts that go with this, so that they can start to develop their own response plan and their own team that would respond to these incidents. What we're finding is that if first responders had responded to an incident since the training, 100% of the time the training they received helped them better respond to that. About 80% of the time they have changed their local response to that training. So it's been very, very well received. We're hearing comments like that maybe they haven't responded to a cattle incident, but they've taken the topics that they've learned to help them respond to a horse incident on the road. We have had several cattle incidents respond to. The first responders talked about how they were more prepared to deal with the euthanasia and triage, the mortality issues, how to set up the scene perimeter for safety. And so it's been very, very well received. And what we are teaching people, they are using and teaching others, which is really what we like to hear. It's been a very impactful program. The piece of this that's in BQA is that all of us in Beef Quality Assurance, one of our tenets is that we would like to have cattle humanely handled, appropriately handled at all times. And so one of the things that we knew that was occurring within these incidents was that maybe cattle weren't being euthanized in a humane fashion. Maybe they weren't always handled correctly after they had come off the truck or in the truck. And so the animal handling and the humane euthanasia are two major components with that, along with potentially dealing with foreign animal disease response and biosecurity issues. Well, if you're interested in this, I'd really encourage you to start the discussion in your local community. Start the discussion about, if we have an incident in our community, who's going to bring the panels to put around the truck? Who has the training in euthanasia to put down animals if they need to be put down and a veterinarian's not available? Who's going to respond to these in the appropriate fashion? If we have to handle some cattle that are fractious, who has the training and the ability to do that? And so this is really a local response. It really needs to start at the local level, and oftentimes in our rural communities, the first responders are our farmers and ranchers, and so they have a big piece in this. And so think about who has those entities, and maybe start that call list, or that develop that list several layers deep, so that if the first person on the call list isn't available, there's somebody else who's been trained, has panels available, whatever that situation is there. And I encourage people to maybe develop that 3, 4, 5 layers deep in case of an emergency.